London's Metropolitan Police have a reputation for being among the toughest cops in the country. And the cops in Hammersmith and Fulham are no exception. Their West London patch is a battleground for a war on crime, and they're winning. Their zero-tolerance approach has left drug dealers, robbers and street gangs with nowhere to hide.
They don't rule the streets, we do.
Foxtrot Tail 315, male detained.
Coming up, police come down hard on the drunk and disorderly. The thin blue line in the thick of it had a Chelsea versus West Ham derby.
Do you understand? You don't do things like that. You don't get it verbal. You keep it still.
And a family row that involves a Gypsy King and a neo riot on a local estate. The police control room has just taken a 999 call about an attempted carjacking and a violent attack on 3 members of a Polish family. PC's Dave Smythe and Ken Ford of Hammersmith and Fulham's elite robbery squad immediately respond.
The call we've had is stating that a guy in his car on the A40 has been attacked with baseball bats and someone's tried to actually take property off him. So, I mean, it's not often that you get like 4 guys jump out and attack a car with baseball bats unless there's some previous history. So we're going to go and find out what exactly's gone on.
Arriving at the family's house, the first thing they see is damage on the car.
Hello there. Can we go and sit down and have a chat or something?
It also looks like one of the men has a head injury.
You're holding your head? Yeah. Were you involved in the incident? Yeah. Can you come out here as well and have a chat?
First impressions are that this family has been a victim of a vicious attack.
We see people just coming up to the car, banging the car, give us the car, get out of the car. You know, like police bats they got.
Police bats?
Yeah, like police bat.
No, like this?
No, not that one. The other one, the big one.
The big black ones?
Yeah, the big black one.
Oh, they had acrylic battens.
According to the alleged victims, the attackers had other weapons. The man claims he was attacked with a spade like this.
Right. They were trying to break into the windows. Give us the car, give us the car.
At the front of the house, the men show the officers how their car was supposedly attacked.
Banging.
Okay, yeah.
There's that horning,
yeah.
And the man moved,
So there was just 2 guys in just throughout the whole attack?
Yeah.
And one of them definitely put their hand around about there somewhere?
Yeah.
Believing that this has been an attempted robbery, a SOCO, a scenes of crime officer, has been requested to take fingerprints from the car. Last year, over 30,000 robberies were committed in the Metropolitan Police area. The dedicated teams of Hammersmith and Fulham's robbery squad leave no stone unturned in trying to bring down this number. Back at the house, PC Ken Ford is worried that this incident could be about some sort of vendetta.
Is there any sort of like disagreements you had back in Poland that have followed you?
But as PC Ford is building up a profile of the alleged attackers, one of the men suddenly sees something out of the window. Unbelievably, it's the suspects.
F82643, can we have more units, please? We've got the suspects have just turned up.
Outside, it's chaos, and this seemingly ordinary investigation has now turned into an explosive situation.
Hello, gentlemen. What's going on here? What's happened here? Hey! What's happened here? What's happened here? Police!
Confronting the men, PC Ford has noticed that one of them seems to be hiding something under his shirt.
What's this?
And the family who'd claimed they'd been attacked rush out to join the ruck.
All units here now, please, on the hurry up.
One man has slipped past the 2 PCs and has rushed the family with something in his hand. With their backs against the wall, outnumbered by more than 6 to 1, the two officers have not only to drive the attackers back, but also keep the family from getting into the fight as well. Finally, they manage to put some space between the two groups, but the family still wants to get into the action. Other police units are now rushing in to take a grip on the situation.
It's like it, all these nicking for a fray now. Fray? You're under arrest for a fray.
But even while the arrests are going on, some men still want to get at each other.
You, come here now! Come here!
It's an arrest fest, and with more units streaming in, PC's Ford and Smythe seem to have averted a major incident.
You're nicked for a fray. He needs to be nicked for a fray. This fella here had an offensive weapon. He had a crowbar on him. He's just got rid of it. You're nicked as well. Yeah, it is nicking for a fray. I've nicked him. I just need your cuffs. It doesn't matter what you had.
With backup arriving from all over the borough, the family who said they'd been the victims still seem intent on winding things up.
You, come here! Come here! Right, go inside. Take your family in the house. Take your family. I need to word. No, I'm chatting with him. Go inside. Go inside now. You, stop winding things up.
At last, the situation has been diffused, but the attackers don't seem to know what they've done wrong.
I don't know where you think you are. You don't come down here and start trouble on these streets. Do you understand? So I don't know how many we've got next, so I'm sorry. They're all in for a fray.
Like some sort of organised outing, the men are sorted and put into various cars and vans.
3, 4, 5. Some of my favours. Mate, I'm sorry, I'm not having that. You're involved.
With the arrested men in the police vans, the search for any weapons begins.
Someone attacked you with a knife? Must have thrown it away somewhere.
What started as an investigation into a supposed carjacking has now turned into a full-blown family feud that traces its origins all the way back to Poland.
I just found this out from the Polish interpreter that I was dealing with that night. And she was telling us that they were actually Polish gypsies and that they were having a long-running family feud. There's been a dispute between a married couple within the family. We haven't really quite got to the bottom of actually what the dispute is because they won't tell us. She was telling us that what they do, they'd gone to the Polish gypsy king, because apparently there is a gypsy king in Poland, and they have to ring him up when they have any problems or disputes like this. And I had to tell them that unfortunately, the gypsy king hasn't got jurisdiction over here, and that you've all committed offences on the Queen streets.
I've arrested all of them. I've arrested all of them.
Coming up, the suspect who speaks nothing but double Dutch.
And you're related to the occupant of this property, you're not sure what her first name is, and you don't have her telephone number.
You normally go into the window, do you, when you visit your cousin?
And the thin blue line is pushed to the limit in a local derby between Chelsea and West Ham. With almost 200,000 residents, the West London borough of Hammersmith and Fulham is one of the most densely populated inner city areas in the country. But on certain days, an extra 50,000 can come storming into the area.
This borough is unique in that we've got 3 big football clubs, Chelsea, Fulham and QPR. So we have to take a lot of our officers off to deal with that. Thankfully, football violence is almost a thing of the past compared to what it once was. That said, when people get drunk and they get passionate, they can sometimes get silly, and then we end up with some really nasty incidents.
At the early morning briefing, Chief Inspector Paul Switzer goes through the plan for Chelsea versus West Ham.
As with a lot of these games, a lot of intelligence comes in, and we have had from the past where they may go and where they may play up and may perform. Parsons Green, Putney Bridge, and that's where West Ham fans have popped out.
Heading up today's task force is Chief Inspector Keith Overstall.
Today's game's Chelsea-West Ham. Obviously it's London derby. Traditionally it's always been quite high profile. There has been trouble in the past. But in essence, we've got 42,000 people. 3,000 of them are visiting fans from West Ham. vast majority of supporters want a safe journey here, enjoy the game. But unfortunately, certainly with some clubs, there will be a minority of people who are looking at an opportunity to engage in disorder.
It's an hour before kick-off and the tension is beginning to build. Many of the fans arrive early to rack up the atmosphere and to down a couple of pints. Right opposite the Chelsea main gate is a pub which is a favourite drinking place for the home fans. It's where any visiting supporters will have to pass. With a heady cocktail of alcohol and adrenaline, if anything, he's going to kick off